all be clear. Settle it down, it'll all be clear. I love it when a theme comes together. So you may not know, but what we do is I just send the theme of the day out to the musician and the practitioner, and they just take it and run with it. And it's awesome when it's all synchronistic and everything kind of blends. So thank you to both of you for helping make the service be contiguous. I love that. So anyway, so our theme this month, in the month of March, is about integrity. The dictionary definition of integrity is the state of being whole and undivided. And I think that dictionary definition runs pretty close to what the science of mind teaches about wholeness and integrity. See, we are each whole and we're undivided as an expression of the wholeness of God that is present within us. That's the truth of our being. And we get to choose whether or not we live in alignment with our integrity. And we choose that whenever we choose to express that wholeness in our lives. We're demonstrating divine integrity when we practice living in such ways that are whole, when we practice honesty, when we practice compassion and generosity, or strength of character. That's when we know when we're in our integrity. And this morning I want to remind you that you are a spiritual being. You are moving through your life in varying degrees of awareness of your highest self, your godness, your creative power, your wholeness. There is a core within you that is connected to the divine intelligence and to that perfection of spirit. And there's nothing you can do to break away from that. No matter what mistakes you make, you are always still connected to spirit, always. It is the very air you breathe, it's the beat of your heart, it's life itself, and it is you. It is you. You are magnificent and loved and provided for in every way. Our lifelong journey down this road we've been singing and talking about today is to wake up to that reality as soon as possible and as often as possible. Every last one of you is living a spiritual life. If God is all there is, well, then God is all there is, right? And each of us is choosing our own individual way of being in the midst of all this possibility toward what we hope will be a better outcome for our lives. That's what we're doing every day, choosing possibilities to have the best outcome that we can have. So what I've come to discover is people can do a pretty good job of living without becoming aware of their highest self. You know, without really doing much introspection or finding meaning to our lives. Often they can do that pretty good job until something happens that really, really hurts, right? You know, we can kind of mosey down this road of our lives pretty well, pretty unconscious, until the carefully laid plans bottom out. And when that happens, something shifts, right? Howard Thurman's the author of the book of the month this month. It's called The Inward Journey. And here's what he described. He said, when have you last had a good session with yourself? Or have you ever had it out with you? Most often you're brought face to face with yourself only when such an encounter is forced upon you. Usually it is in connection with a crisis situation. Whatever may be the occasion, there comes a deep necessity which leads you finally into the closet with yourself. It is here that you raise the real questions about yourself. The leading one is, what is it after all that I amount to ultimately? And such a question cuts through all that is superficial and trivial in life to the very nerve center of yourself. Howard Thurman. If you've never read Howard Thurman, he is a phenomenal philosopher. He is really interesting. So pain, emotional pain, is usually the occasion that urges towards this good session with yourself, as Howard calls it. So let me give you an example in my own life. Okay, so in my 20s, and most of you are kind of aware of my life road, but in my 20s, I was just kind of, as I said, kind of moseying down the road. I was just doing the typical 20 decade. I was dating, and I was finding a career, and I was figuring out where I wanted to live. And during that decade, I bought my first house, and I, had fun with friends and settled down into a relationship, and I decided to have a child. So pretty typical pretty typical decade. Normal ups and downs, nothing major to disrupt the status quo, nothing major to push me towards waking up to my inner life in that decade. But then shortly after I turned 30, my daughter was born. As a special needs medically fragile child, she took my breath away. She stopped me in my semi-conscious tracks and woke me up. So spending weeks in the hospital coping with her being on that brink of life and death really awakened me. And suddenly I needed to understand more clearly what life meant. What was this all about? What was this experience I was having about, and how did it fit in with the whole thing? It just raised those real questions that Howard Thurman spoke of, and I found myself really in the closet with myself, trying to figure out what this was about. And I finally turned to spirituality. I finally began to understand and discover a greater understanding and a meaning to life. That's what it took for me. And I know it takes different things for different people, but I think it's what happens to most of us. We find ourselves in some sort of a personal crossroads moment, and we realize that we've got some very major choices to make that will change our identity in a big way, or the choices will actually begin to define like the next decade of your life or whatever, and you're like, I need to be serious about this, right? So we've got to figure out who we are, what we're up to, and so we begin to talk to ourselves in those closet moments in a new way, don't we? So I read somewhere recently that the 3 big spiritual questions are these. 1, who am I? 2, why am I here? And 3, how shall I live? Who am I? Why am I here? And how shall I live? So once I got on the road to spirituality and found the science of mind and began to seek answers through that, I was so happy to find this teaching, because the science of mind, this teaching finally helped me understand that who was I? Who am I? Here I learned that I am an expression of God. I have at my very core all of the attributes of spirit. I am love. I am whole. I am abundantly blessed. And I don't know about you, but I had never been taught that's who I was. Right? So I needed that understanding. And most importantly, I have free will to do with this energy whatever I choose. Right? So then I got to that second question, why am I here? Why am I here? I'm here to bring solution to whatever situation and relationship I find myself in. Because I'm here to allow my spiritual identity to shine through. I'm here to learn how to balance being a human being and a spiritual being at the same time. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to love because God is love, and if I'm here to be spirit informed, then I'm here to love. I'm here to make the most of this life and evolve as much as I can. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to release fear and limitation. That's what I'm here for. And then I get to that third question of how shall I live? How shall I live? The science of mind is pretty clear on how we can live. We can live freely, and we can allow others to live freely. We can let go of the past and live joyfully in this day and allow others to be happy in this day too. So I shall live in a way that I truly and freely express joy and love and abundance of God as much as I can. That is how I shall live, right? And if we're curious enough to look about how we've lived our lives up until now, we also find that we're brave enough to start taking steps toward the who we really want to be. See, very often, but not always, we'll find ourselves connecting to a deeper sense of who we are. And settling into that deeper place and a growing sense of faith. We become conscious of our own spiritual nature. Conscious spiritual living can be a joyful journey if we have the right equipment and the right map. See, Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind gives us the tools, because in this teaching we learn practices that assure our deepening connection with all that is, changing the way we think and feel. We learn that meditation and spiritual mind treatment and visioning and taking classes and journaling and gratitude and forgiveness work, they really make a difference in how we live, how we journey down the road. These practices, and there are more, but these practices teach us about ourselves and bring about changes in how we interpret and how we react to our experiences. See, we'll stumble. We'll stumble, and sometimes we fall as our experiences change around us. We get back up, we resume the practices, and we integrate our thinking with what we value. We get back into integrity. So my personal working definition of integrity is this. I'm in my integrity when I'm fully aligned within myself. So what I mean by that is my thoughts match my words, which match my emotions, which match my choices and actions. For example, if I have the ongoing thought that, let's say, love is my decision, I'm in integrity with that when I'm thinking loving thoughts, when I'm speaking loving words, when I feel love in my heart and I make a loving choice. That's integrity. Or I have an ongoing thought that God is my source, and then I think abundant thoughts. I speak about abundance and I don't speak of lack, so I'm in my integrity. Or I feel like my needs are fully supplied and I make choices from that place of abundance. It's about being in alignment, right? Congruent. Congruency is a demonstration of our integrity. And it feels so good when our outer life matches our inner life, doesn't it? But congruency is not a one and done kind of thing. It's just not. Congruency takes practice and realignment over and over and over. So when do we have crisis in our integrity? I know I have times when I'm in a crisis of integrity. I'm certainly not congruent. I know we all do, right? See, I might be singing love is my decision, but I'm sitting there judging the person sitting across the room, right? Or I hold non-forgiveness when a friend missteps in some careless way. You know, maybe you can relate, maybe not. But when I'm in those situations, I can feel it. I feel that dissonance inside when I'm like, this is not right. I'm not right. It is not right. But see, each of us have different things that trigger that. You know, maybe it's dealing with Comcast over the phone. Comcast will send me right into the ditch. It just really maybe it's the evil called rush hour traffic. I don't know. Maybe it's having unmet expectations with anything in life, a coworker or a boss or something. Maybe it's a comment that feels disrespectful or something from a family member. All of us have something. So back to our topic of the road, I feel like life is like zooming down the highway. I'm zooming down the highway of life. I'm feeling all good about myself, and then I get into an integrity pileup, right? Sometimes I just run right off the road into the ditch, I just said. I just run off into the ditch. But sometimes your actions don't line up with your beliefs or your words, and sometimes you're less than highly conscious in a conversation. Sometimes things don't happen as you expected, and some unwanted behavior or language or habit just kind of pops its ugly head up. Am I the only one? I'm not the only one, right? Sometimes you fall short of your expectations of yourself, right? But so what do you do when that happens? What do you do? What do you do when you realize you just run right off the road of integrity and you're just like smashed in the ditch, right? You get out of that ditch and you get yourself back onto the road. Laine, how do I do that? I'm so mad at the moment, right? So here's some steps I want to offer you. Number one, while you're sitting there in that ditch, remember who you are. Identify the life that you so deeply desire and reaffirm God is wholeness. We're out of integrity when we believe that we are anything less than that. So reaffirm that. Affirm that you're a spiritual being and that you are connected to a power much greater than yourself, and this ditch does not disconnect you from that. It just doesn't. Affirm that this divine moment is about learning and growing, and remember that you don't have to stay in the ditch. So remember who you are, number one. Number two, find the road, right? Okay, so look around for others that are living the way you want to live. See, on the highway of integrity, there are cars just zooming along, headed towards inspired living. Find that road. They're moving closer and closer to love and acceptance and joy. You see, there are many roads to travel in life, so you gotta find the road you want, the one you wanna be on. You have to find your road with your people. You can't expect those people to be perfect either, though, because they're going to go off in the ditch too. And remember that. Because sometimes we leave a road because someone lets us down, or we realize that someone's human that you didn't think was human, or that you didn't allow them to go in the ditch too. Right? You get disappointed. Just find your road. But at least those people are headed in the same direction that you want to go in. So the third step is restart the car. Right? Make the first move. Set a new intention. Enter a new destination into your spiritual GPS, right? Maybe that destination is harmony or balance or authenticity or forgiveness. You're in the ditch because your highest self was not steering your life in the moment that you ran off into the ditch. Not because there's something wrong with your vehicle. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just the right part of yourself was not driving the car. Right? So start your car. Have the courage to start your car and begin again. And number 4 is inch your way back to the road. Little by little, one choice at a time, move in the direction of personal integrity. Start with the present situation that got you into the ditch. Is there some forgiveness you need to do for yourself? Do you need to forgive somebody else? Is there a conversation or an apology that needs to happen? Inch by inch, head your way back towards freedom and integrity. And number 5, hit the gas. Don't look back. What you want is in front of you. And how you get there is by staying in this now present moment, and in this present moment, and then this moment. Hit the gas. See that pedal on the right? If you push that, you'll gain speed. And this is really tricky. The pedal on the right is the pedal of right choices. Right words, right love, right practice. Hit that pedal and go. Hit that pedal and go. So every month, you may or may not know, but I feature a practitioner in the newsletter. And Susan wrote the practitioner piece for the month of February. And she shared in that a reminder of great wisdom. She reminded us that we can start the day over any moment we choose. I thought that was a brilliant article. It really was. If you find yourself out of integrity and in the ditch, start your day over. And when you start over, and I'm not saying go climb back in the bed and start, no, I'm not saying that. Just start over right then. Invite the power of spirit to start with you. This is what Ernest Holmes says. The power behind all things is of itself without limit. It is all power. In us, it becomes what we permit it to be. Our destiny is in our own hands. When we rise to an elevated state of consciousness where we see all things in their completeness and know that an all-wise power is behind it all, we will see that the infinite could wish for us only that which expresses itself in limitless terms. Limitless. Holmes says nothing about being off in the ditch and you gotta stay there and punish yourself. That's not what he says. He points out that we are limitless. You are limitless. And when you're aligned with truth, you are unstoppable. You've got to remember, spiritual living is not a destination. We never arrive. We pass through times of great spiritual truth and growth and power, but we also pass through times of pain and questioning. Nobody gets out of it because we are all on this road of enlightenment together. The only variable is how we react to it. Joel Goldsmith says this in Practicing the Presence. I love that book, by the way. Our demonstration is to maintain our integrity to the highest degree to which we are capable at any given moment. If we make a mistake, let us pick ourselves up and be sure that it doesn't happen again. See, as individuals and as a community, nation or planet for that matter, living a spiritual life means both, that at every point of choice we take the high road and we begin to recognize when we aren't on the high road. That's the waking up part. And no matter how many times we step over into that less than 100% responsibility territory, no matter how often we realize we're in the ditch, it's never too late to change direction towards higher ground. We can learn to stop defining ourselves by the things we've done poorly and instead awaken to the panorama inside us that is spirit. No matter where you are in your life, it's never too late to put your vehicle back on a conscious spiritual road. Look in the mirror and ask, who am I? Why am I here? And how shall I live? And do that often. Forgive yourself for being human and adjust your expectations. You will be in the ditch from time to time. You will neglect your practices. You will find yourself out of integrity with what you cherish. Just get over it. It's part of it. You've got one foot on the pedal of the divine and one foot on the brake of humanity. It's just a fact. The more you drive and push that pedal on the right, the easier and more fun the journey. Now hit the gas. And so it is.